Hello everyone, semi-retired Bob here. I can't tell you how happy I am that you are here. If you're new to the channel, and many of you are, since we just crossed over 1,500 subscribers, I just can't understand that or believe it, but thank you all so much. Today we're going to talk about intermittent fasting. So, here we go around the block. Oh, one quick thing before I get started. See that white van there in my driveway? That's what happens when you've been to the same mechanic since 1990. I dropped my truck off this morning and didn't realize that his front desk helper was not there this week. He's on vacation. So my mechanic just reached in his pocket and said, "Here, just take my van home. I'll call you when your truck's ready." That's really awesome. I like that a lot. But anyway, intermittent fasting. What is it? Why do we do it? All that kind of stuff. Let's start with what it is. I'm real sure it was Dr. Fung I was listening to, who said, this is the one diet program that's completely free. You don't have to buy any supplements. You don't have to buy any food. You don't have to plan any meals. You don't have to do any of that stuff because you're fasting. You're not eating. Why do we want to fast? That's a really good question. Well, now again, I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. I'm not a scientist. I'm just explaining things to you the way an old truck driver sort of understands what he's heard from doctors that actually know what they're talking about. But apparently, insulin in our blood, depending on how high the insulin is, when we eat, insulin goes up to help process the food you've just eaten. And basically, your body digests and absorbs what it can, and the rest of it gets stored as fat. Now, the mechanisms and all that, and whether it gets stored as, brown fat or white fat, I don't really understand all that stuff. But the key point here is that you cannot possibly access and burn fat while your insulin is high. That's why everyone with hyperinsulinemia gets heavier and heavier. Because no matter what you do, if your insulin is up, you can't lose fat because your body can't get to it to burn it. That's why some of the worst advice we've had from nutritionists and doctors over the last 30 years has been, oh, you should eat 6 small meals a day. Well, eating those 6 small meals a day, or, breakfast and then a snack and then lunch and then a snack and then dinner and then a snack, you're eating all day long. So your insulin comes up in the morning when you eat breakfast and it never gets a chance to go back down. Well, if you think about the history of our species, I can't imagine there ever being a good enough hunter out there to kill an animal to eat every 2 or 3 hours. They might go 2 or 3 days in between hunts, and that's, what fasting is. You have to wait between your meals. So if you can reduce the amount of time that you're actually eating, you have more hours for your insulin to drop. And when your insulin drops and there's no more food to be processed, that's when the magic starts to happen and you get to start burning fat. Now, of course, there's a lot of people out there that advocate for fasting, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 10 days or longer. I tried a 3-day fast one time, And I made it, but I did not like it at all. I'm not a big fan of not eating for that long, because I've always been a really big eater, obviously. But the intermittent fasting thing is basically, if you move breakfast a couple hours forward or later, so that you don't eat breakfast till 10:30 or 11, and then you move dinner back to 4:30 or 5 instead of 7. If you're eating good, satiating whole foods with lots of fat, you're probably not going to get hungry again. And if you eat your first meal at, say, 11 and your last meal at 5, now you've got a whole 18 hours before your next meal. That gives your insulin time to drop and your body to start making ketones. I'm not exactly sure how all that happens. I don't understand the science. But when your insulin drops and stays down long enough, that's when you start to make ketones, and you burn fat as fuel. And that's how you lose weight. Another interesting thing that happens, why the 6 meal a day thing and everybody getting so big and overweight is so bad for you and causes things like, besides the diabetes, but all of the autoimmune disorders that you can get from eating a bad diet, is that there's a little thing called autophagy. Now, I'm not going to even attempt to explain all the science behind it, but the basic thing of autophagy is that while your body is in this fat burning stage, autophagy also kicks in, and that's the body's mechanism for basically destroying and then rebuilding old cells that aren't working as good as they should. Ooh, there's some acorns on the ground here. That's a big oak tree. But there, I'll give you a peek up into that. That's the oak tree I just walked under. So if your body never has a chance to recycle its old cells, then all these old cells that aren't working right just keep trying to do their job, but they can't do their job correctly because they're old and broken. Kind of like me. Oh, the dog that was out in the backyard a couple of days ago is now up in the window barking at me. Hello, little buddy. And of course he starts barking and everything else around the neighborhood starts to bark. But one of the things that I found interesting about autophagy is one of the things that it eats up is loose skin. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, but if you're like me and you lost a lot of weight really quick, you're going to have loose skin. And you can either go have a surgery to get that fixed, or you can wait for your skin to tighten up on its own. But if that knee's still bugging me in spots. But if you never get into autophagy, then your skin never gets a chance to tighten up, and you'll have all that loose skin hanging around forever. Now, I just talked about intermittent fasting, but my philosophy on it is don't force anything. Let it happen naturally. Which means as you eat big fatty beef meals, you're going to stay full. And if you've been eating 2 meals a day, or even 3 meals a day, one day you're going to get to dinner time and go, oh, I haven't eaten yet today because I never got hungry. Well, congratulations, you just got an extra 4 or 5 hours of your body in a fasting state doing all the good things that it does. But if you get hungry, you should eat. Good morning.
Hi.
So, don't force anything. Let it come to you naturally. It will happen. It might take several weeks. Because if you're like me, I mean, the size of the meals I used to be able to put down. You know, I used to order a large Papa John's pizza and an order of their cheese sticks. And I could come real close to just smashing the whole thing in one sitting. That's how big an eater I was. So now, I'm still smashing big meals, but I'm smashing the right kind of stuff. Eating, 2 pounds of ground beef for my meal. And most of the time, I do OMAD, which stands for 1 meal a day. So I get basically a 23-hour fast in every day. But sometimes, even sometimes in the middle of the night, I'll wake up hungry. I get up and I always have 4 or 5 beef patties in the refrigerator that I can heat up in the microwave. And sometimes I'll just throw those in and eat them even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Because you don't really have to worry about that kind of stuff every day. Good morning. I'm out a little early because I took my truck over to Dwayne's place. There's a lot more people out here walking this morning than normal. But what was I talking about? Oh yeah, how much I can eat. I can eat a lot. But that's why I've always said, if you get hungry, go ahead and eat. Because you're still going to be in ketosis for the most part. You may get knocked out for an hour or two while your food digests. Now, I don't recommend getting hungry and eating at 2 o'clock in the morning every day. I prefer you have kind of a schedule. Don't strictly stick to the schedule. I don't want you to, it's 3 o'clock. I gotta have my food now. It's 3 o'clock. No, you still wait till you're hungry. But it's interesting. I was watching Dr. Barry and Kim Howerton last night, and they said, there's no real research backing this up yet, but I feel better and do better when I don't eat while the sun's down. I'm crossing the street, starting up the hill here. And if you think about it, ancestrally, it makes sense. Because if you only go back to, the rancher days, you just go back to say, even 100 years ago, ranchers didn't go out and slaughter cows overnight, or sheep or pigs or whatever it is they're doing. They didn't do that at night and then sit down to a big feast. If you go back even further, when the tribe would go out and hunt for an animal, they'd all go out, they'd hunt a great big animal, take it down, and everybody would eat till they're stuffed. Well, those people didn't have electricity, and they basically hunkered down in their caves overnight and waited till it got light out before they went and did anything. So I can see the sense and the logic behind not eating while it's dark out. I don't know if, when they actually get some studies done, if that will end up holding any water or not. But it seems reasonably, it seems like it makes reasonable sense if you think about it ancestrally. Well, we just passed the driveway that I stopped at 2 days ago. Oh boy. This is a big hill. Sorry, I'm trying not to stop, and I'm at the point where I can't talk, and I'm going to take my own advice and not risk anything. So now that I'm here at the stop sign that I showed you a couple days ago, you can see I am here. How you doing this morning? Not too bad. Now that I've made it all the way to the stop sign, I'm going to stand here and breathe for just a minute before I walk back down the hill. Okay, and now we're off. Beautiful flowers.
Oh, thank you. They're doing better this year than we typically have.
Yeah, I'm sure now that we've got this 67-degree weather, they'll probably perk up one last time before the frost moves in.
That'd be nice.
It would be.
Yeah. Have a good walk.
I'm almost done. I do not turn my camera to where you can see who I'm talking to, because a couple of people have asked me, Bob, don't you worry about leaving your house for 8, 9, 10 months at a time unattended? Well, no, I don't. Because I do have a friend that comes over, so I don't stop my mail or forward my mail. A friend of mine comes over a couple times a week, grabs the mail, takes it inside, checks everything over, lets me know if something's burst down in the basement that I need to take care of, like a water pipe or something. But the house on that side of me is a retired officer. The house on that side of me is a retired officer. Across the street, and I have to say, my neighbors in this neighborhood are so polite and nice. They see me coming down the street with my camera, and they cross to the other side not to get in my way. You have no idea how much that means to me. But the guy that lives over there is an active duty police officer. On up the hill, another half block from that stop sign, is an Omaha Canine unit. Down there and around the corner is a state highway patrolman. And one more street up and a few houses in, I won't say how many, but basically up there on top of that hill I just climbed is the regional director of the FBI. So, do I worry about leaving my house unattended? Not at all. I probably live in one of the safest neighborhoods in America. Well, I made it. I'm not sure if I covered everything I wanted to cover about intermittent fasting. I'll look at my notes when I get back inside while I'm re-watching the video and editing it for publish. And if I missed anything, I'll fill you in tomorrow. If you haven't watched my entire walking series to see the progress I've made since, today is another day in the September challenge, if you want to watch it all from the start, there should be a link right here that pops up, and another video you might want to watch pops up over there. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.